How's it going, everybody? My name is Dominic De Jesus. Today we are on our Investment Dominator Thursday call, and today is a great day to join our Q&A live session because we are going to be going over advanced sections involved with the Investment Dominator. Something you want to keep in mind is kind of what we do. And let me go ahead and point back to our slideshow right here. Again, if you guys are seeing this right now, you should be seeing my screen. If you can, go ahead and see my screen. Just, well, write in the chat just a hello or just that you can hear me. Anything is much appreciated, especially so that I am not talking to myself. But as you can see on your screen, and in order for you to send a question, you can actually just go ahead and open up the question tab and then just go ahead and send that in. You do not have to worry about raising your hand at all, so just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so again, when working through the Investment Dominator, you kind of want to keep in mind that we are always going to be having this LPG deal flow, be very transparent in everything that we do with the Investment Dominator. And as you might know from our beginner sessions on Monday, some of the information that you can input into the Investment Dominator can be outputted. So information such as your company information, county data, offer request, property details, tasks, etc. All of that can be entered into the Investment Dominator, and bam, generated. You have your letters, your offers, your websites, calculators and tools, and analytics and team management. So because today is our advanced section, we are going to try to stick to more advanced topics. Of course, any question is a good question, especially if we're not getting a lot of stuff coming in, but just keep that in mind when working with the Investment Dominator. So for today's session, we're going to try something a bit new. We are going to dive into Zapier today. So, the Investment Dominator has been updated quite a lot, and you might notice if you have the student portal that we updated the student portal, and it looks great. And another update that we have involved with the Investment Dominator is our Zapier connection. So, again, this is our more advanced session. So if you are kind of unaware of Zapier, first I'll, go over a brief introduction over it. But today we're going to be working on connecting making a Zapier connection between Investment Dominator and Ring Central, which is, a service that we recommend. And then we have another one here. We're going to connect Zapier from Investment Dominator to Google Sheets. So I want to show you guys, the reason why we're bringing this up and the reason why, we make these updates is because actually Zapier is an automation service. So, rather than you doing so many manual tasks and so much, manual labor when it comes to just either writing contacts or saving contacts, and when you get a phone call in, let's say, for instance, when we go over the Investment Dominator to Ring Central, for instance, we're going to set it up so that when we end a call with Ring Central, the information is going to post into Investment Dominator. So that's something really cool, and we're going to look into that into just a little bit. And for instance, the other connection that we have with Investment Dominator to Google Sheets, we are going to basically create a spreadsheet row when a new record is created in Investment Dominator. And if you do not have any idea what I'm talking about, do not worry. That's what today's call is for. We're going to go over and demonstrate that. But looks like we have a question here from Angela, and she's asking about the recordings for the Land Profit Maximizer, our maximizer on June 8th and June 10th. Are they available? That's a great question, Angela. I can try to find out for you. If they're not available by tomorrow, then I'll go ahead and find out when I can get a secure date for you on Monday per se, if I am. But currently, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I don't want to give you wrong information. But so let's kind of just dive into some things first. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions coming in. Let's go ahead and let's go over, actually we do have a backlog question too before we go over into the Zapier. So let's go over our backlog question. It's only one, so it won't take up too much time, but it is from Nelson, what is it? No, sorry about that, Nelson Norman. And he basically wants to know if we can go over the Ring Central setup, the recommended setup, and he wants to specifically go into our extension 2. So we can go ahead and take a look at that before we dive into more information. And as well as any of you new guys joining on, we can go ahead and just go right here. Just remember that if you want to go ahead and submit a question, just go ahead and hit the drop down and submit your question, and I'll look at that as soon as we can for today's session. But all right, so Ring Central, no, right? Yeah, Ring Central is what we're working on, our extension 2. So let's go over here to our help section, and let's go over to our user guide. As you may be aware, so we'll go ahead here, and we want to know about our Ring Central recommended setup. So for instance, if we type into the Investment Dominator and we type in Ring Central, you'll notice our recommended Ring Central setup article is the first one to pop up here. So from that point, you'll kind of see all these details and information about everything regarding Ring Central, kind of what it is and why we recommend it, and as well as the apps that are provided from using Ring Central. There's a lot of great features and a lot of great setup options and forwarding options, as well as extensions. So we also have this graphic. So this graphic is going to be your main essential, I guess, use item for when you're talking to Ring Central. So the reason I say that is because we have here our 2-line setup, which Nelson wanted us to go over, and specifically the extension 2 part of our Ring Central 2-line recommended phone setup. So for instance, Nelson, when you're working with your extension 2, you want to keep in mind that this is going to be people calling in about offers that you have sent them, and either just wanting to discuss offers or talk about the finer details in regards to offers. So, you know, one thing you want to keep in mind about our setup, and you don't want to confuse, is that, you know, when you're working with your extension 1, your extension 1, for instance, if you point that to Pat Live, it's going to be completely dedicated to that number. So this extension 1 you want to completely ignore, and I say that because you don't want to think about your extension 1 as your extension 2. And I say that as Pat Live is a 24-hour call center. These are people that are going to be waiting to go ahead and, you know, process your new offer request. Again, that is a process done within the Investment Dominator, and you know, once you give that Pat Live member access to an additional profile in your account, they'll kind of go about doing that. But, you know, because the Pat Live representative is completely dedicated to processing new offer requests, they're actually not going to have any clue at all what you know, details about your offer and kind of like what's going to that. So when you keep that in mind, your extension 2 is going to be dedicated to another line, for instance. So let's go back to our customize section here, and let's go to company information. And then under company information, you'll see our extension 2 over here, which we have either linked to a Google Voice or a Skype number. Again, these are recommendations that we have, but you know, our students, the most popular options, kind of go about that route. So at the end of the day, your extension 2 is dedicated to a number that can be directed towards you. And we say that because no one else is going to know your offers better than you. You're the one that like created it, you're the one that sent it, and you don't want anybody else picking up that phone call. And you also want that call to be available. Again, since we're on the topic of our recommended phone setup for 2 lines, our local number 2 over here, questions about your land for sale, that's going to be completely dedicated to a separate number itself. So just kind of keep that in mind about that. But yeah, so this can be pointed to a Google Voice or Skype number, and you can pick that up at any time when you're kind of working through with that. Later we'll see actually if there's more options available through Zapier. I'll give a brief introduction too before we dive too much into the Zapier. But there's actually a lot of possibilities that can happen, and you'll see the existing services that you have. You'll actually be able to see if you can implement them in any way. So if you guys have any questions about what kind of software that can be used with Zapier, just kind of keep in mind that there is a free tool. So let's see if we can actually go to Zapier right now. So in case if you guys didn't know, Zapier, again, is that automation service right here. So easy automation for busy people. Zapier moves info between your web apps automatically so you can focus on your most important work. And again, we're really involved with the Investment Dominator, so we don't want things to kind of hinder us back. We want things to move us forward. This automation is supposed to, ease your workflow. So again, this is kind of the site that'll pop up, and I'm currently logged in, so it might look different to you, but just keep in mind that I am on a free account. I am in no way, shape, or form paying for this, but when you kind of move later on and you start working with Zapier, there's a lot of reason to kind of move forward. But for right now, I'm working through a free plan, and I suggest you can go ahead and set this up as well for yourself. This account is free, so do keep that in mind. And you can actually just create a free account in order so you can just work out some zaps yourself. So for instance, I could just go here. Some of the zaps that we currently have going on about us. Let's see if we have. So for instance, if you have MailChimp, we have Investment Dominator to MailChimp, we have Investment Dominator to Facebook. I'm not sure that's WhatsApp, but we have an article too about e-signatures. Oh, no, sorry. We have an article about DocuSign. I do believe we're working on our e-signatures article, but in case if you wanted to, while I'm going through this live demonstration, have not done this before, so hopefully everything goes well with the zaps. What you can go ahead and do is just come into the Investment Dominator to the help section, and you can just type in Zapier. You'll notice, I did. Okay, do that one. Sorry about that. So right now, currently, we have the DocuSign one, we have e-signatures, and then we have get response. So we do plan on updating more of these within the month, so look forward to that. But just giving you a brief example of an article, we have how to connect Investment Dominator to DocuSign. There were some tickets coming in which kind of asked about this, so this is a very helpful article as well as documentation, just kind of how you would go about doing this. But let's walk through this and then we'll do it live. So basically, you're going to connect an app to Zapier, and you start with one, and then you connect it to the other app that you want to connect it to. You'll notice that there are different options. So for instance, if I were to switch the Investment Dominator with the DocuSign position here, the options would change. So we'll kind of see that more in detail later on. But the next option that you're going to do is select your actions. So you have to pick like what happens when you do an action with an Investment Dominator and what's the action that you want to happen within DocuSign. So then you'll kind of see here, and then it'll give you a little printout of what you're trying to accomplish. Depending on what application you're using, this may change. But it says create a signature request in DocuSign when update record in Investment Dominator. So that's kind of what's going on here, and you'll notice that it asks for a lot of information regarding your API keys, etc. This article does a great job of explaining that to the user, as well as how to kind of set this up. So, for instance, you can select your land deals, your record status. So there's a lot of information that can kind of be found within this. So I don't want to tease you guys any longer. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into Zapier. So Let's go back here. Okay, so I like this setup screen the most. There's several options to kind of go about Zapier, but this one is the most clear and concise for me. So this is right when you first log into Zapier. So go ahead and let's see. So the first one that we're going to do is we're going to connect Investment Dominator to Ring Central. So let's see here. So for this one, let's go ahead and type in Ring Central first. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, there we go. Oh, it's all together. Okay, so Ring Central is here. And then right as soon as you have your connected app, which you'll see here, you'll see recommended workflows. So, in case if you actually didn't know what the possibilities were with Zapier, you'll kind of get all of these examples for some pretty popular ones. So like, for example, if you use Facebook, if you use Google Sheets, Google Docs, you'll see there's a lot of options here for recommended workflows. But for instance, there is archive ended Ring Central calls in Google Sheets. That looks cool. Let's see, save new Ring Central call recordings to Google Drive. That could be helpful as well. Let's see, and then you can do that into Dropbox as well, or you can archive missed Ring Central calls into Google Sheets. So there's really a lot of options that you can work with when you're working with Zapier and Ring Central. But for this instance, we want to do Ring Central connected with the Investment Dominator. So again, we recently updated this our connection, I believe, with Zapier. So there's more fields that are going to be available when you're working with this, which is really awesome because you'll see the level of detail that can basically just go into this. So we want to say we want to post contact when call ended. So let's say when call ended, so again, you have to keep in mind that this is the action that's going to happen first. So when this action happens, then do this. So for instance, when this call ends, then we want to post contact. So it should say post contact and ID when call ended in Ring Central. So, the great thing about this is that every step of the way, they always ask you to kind of like test your files and test the things that you're working with. So you wouldn't really have to worry too much about like your items not working per se, because you're gonna be guaranteed a couple of tests and it'll walk you through that process. So once you go ahead and you have your workflow, you can either like think it out more and just try to see the available options that you can change, or what you can go ahead and do is actually just try it out. So when you click try it out, you'll notice that it opens this whole window right here. This is going to seem complicated to those who may not be technical users, but just kind of keep following along just with like a high level overview, and then I do believe we are going to create articles based off of these videos as well. So just keep that in mind. But so we have here just to select your Ring Central account. I already went ahead and set up my Ring Central account with Zapier, so no setup process there, but I'll go ahead and click continue. And then it's just going to see a test trigger. So it's going to test your Ring Central with Zapier, and it's going to see if it's able to pull information from your Ring Central. So let's see. So we'll go ahead and test that trigger. And I don't have a call linked up with Ring Central, but what we can go ahead and do is actually skip this test. And when we do that, then just keep in mind this is for demonstration purposes, but when we skip it, they actually give us an example call that we can have loaded up, for instance. So this example call is going to give all the information from Ring Central, which is let's call it default information or test information. And it's just going to give you a little snippet of everything that it would grab if this were to be a real call. So for instance, you can see, tons of information within this. Most importantly, we're going to want the name, the cell phone number, and I do believe, not ID, but probably just name and cell phone number and an extension if there need be to reach that person. So we have that whole first part, that whole trigger with Ring Central is actually now done. So the next part that we would have to work on is connecting to Investment Dominator. So again, if you guys have any questions about kind of what's going on, or if you want me to slow down when speaking about this, just go ahead and let me know. But if not, we'll keep going. So we have a choose app and event. So we already chose our Investment Dominator. And the action that we want to perform is to post a contact. So this was already done. Let's go ahead and click continue. So now we select our Investment Dominator. So again, because I already did this, it's already preloaded here, but if not, it'll usually just prompt you to go ahead and log into the Investment Dominator as well as give access. If you go back here to our Zapier article, you will notice that in order to connect the Investment Dominator to Zapier, you're going to have your API key and your app URL. This is all found within the Investment Dominator under the profile section. I will not be going over that today, but this article will describe that for you. So once you connected your Investment Dominator to Zapier, you just go ahead and click continue, and then you'll notice this whole field of information. So let's go ahead and work on it. So let's see. So we have type here. So it says, please fill in a one-digit contact ID type, such as prospect, buyer, investor, neighbor record. So let's see here. We could just see all options. I believe if we type in buyer, actually, I think we can go ahead and leave this as blank. But what you'll notice is that this contact ID field here, that's going to pull directly from the Investment Dominator. So let's say we had a recent call with, a contact that we already have within our Investment Dominator. So we selected that contact right there, and you'll notice that I go into my Investment Dominator here, I go into my marketing. This is the one here. So this is the one that we're going to update with our Zapier connection. So let's see. So we're going to want to grab some items, and the items that we're going to want to grab is, for instance, the first name. So let's see if we can go about and find that there. I do think it would just go to. So that should work out like that and then we'll check out any other information. So remember, what we wanted to keep was the phone number especially, so this number here. Phone status, I'm not sure what phone status would be. Cell phone number, cell phone status, state. So, we'll go into more of these when we're talking about our Google Sheets integration, but you'll notice kind of some of the information that can be pulled out from here. But let's go ahead and actually just continue with what we have. So, more information down here. So property interested in, you can go ahead and select the property. I do believe you can pull that from Investment Dominator. But for instance, this field down here, so let's go ahead and say, the best way to stay organized within the Investment Dominator is to work with tags. So let's say we're going to create a tag called Ring Central, say Zap, so that we know that this is directly updated from our Zap. So let's see the required fields, which is here. Okay, this one is required. Let's see. Please fill in one-digit contact type as follows. 1, 2. So this is going to be our buyer. So let's go ahead and see if that would work, or if we would have to type in buyer. Let me see. Oh, okay. So our continue button here works. So we'll go ahead and hit continue. All right. So now we have all the information that we want to pull from Ring Central, and just keep in mind the additional fields that we could add. But we just, for the primary purpose of this, we just want to post this contact when the call ends. So all of this information would be helpful, but we're not going to use it right now. So then the next step is to test. So remember what I was saying about, anything that you do within the within Zapier and making your connection, you'll actually notice that it will, test it out. And right here, we get a confirmation message that a contact was sent to the Investment Dominator about 12 seconds ago. So, while that confirmation is great, let's actually test it. So the best way to test it is to actually go to your team section within the Investment Dominator, and then go ahead to your activity log. And you'll see right at the time that we made, well, this time is Eastern Standard Time compared to the Mid Standard Time. You'll see them here, but this was just updated, and you'll see updated by API, and then you have buyer list 130. So I wonder if it'll give us details. Yeah, so it'll give us details about that. And if we go ahead and click on this record, you'll notice the contact was posted, so that way you know that this was correct, as well as the information that we had wanted. So the information that we had put is our Ring Central Zap tag, and you'll notice that a tag was created. We did none of this within Investment Dominator. This was completely done through Zapier. So just kind of keep in mind the possibilities of what you can accomplish with this. So you'll notice here as well, you'll get some more updates about when things were updated last, and you'll have the option to edit available information as well. So that was our Zapier connection with the Investment Dominator and Ring Central. And this is really just a great opportunity to ask questions, or a great opportunity to kind of see the potential within this. The next thing that we're going to go over is Investment Dominator to Google Sheets. And we'll do that right after. I do believe there was one question here that I wanted to get to. Give me 1 second. So let's see. We have somebody asking, how can you go over Datatree records and see how many were imported? So that's a great question. And the one thing that you want to keep in mind when working with your Datatree, our Datatree integration, if you go over here to the team section, actually before we even do that, you'll actually notice that we have a ton of Datatree articles regarding our help section. So you'll kind of see like how to view imported records from an outside data service, which will kind of go into that. So how to go over your records once they're uploaded from Datatree. And then let's see here, we have an article, how to generate a new land list with Datatree. A lot of the attention that gets posted from tickets and etc. regarding Datatree is kind of this article here. So more about how to generate a new land list. So keep in mind this image. So we updated all of the advanced filters. So you'll kind of see that here. So these may be impacting your search, or these may actually be helping your search. But one thing you'll notice is that when you go to get your record count, so even when you're clicking, I'll zoom into this. Hopefully that is clear so everybody can see this. But usually there's a blue button down here that says get record count, and then it'll prompt this message which says there are 1927 land records that meet this criteria. And while you may think that that's like what's going to be imported to your Investment Dominator, it's actually not the case. When you go down to the next section right here where it says limit size of mailing, you'll actually notice that there's two sections here. So there's a remaining section on the right-hand side, and there is a kind of another box here with that one symbol located. So to best explain this, basically the number over here that's highlighted in kind of like a light blue in brackets, that's actually how many records you have left in the month with our, that you purchased with Datatree. So just kind of keep that in mind. That's not the total that you're going to get. Like, I think some of the confusion comes from, not realizing that even though you have a bunch of remaining records, you're only importing one because you selected one record. And even though there are 1927 records and you have, let's say for instance, you might have like 3,600 remaining, you'll think like, oh, I'll just pull all these records. You have to actually input that number right here into this box. And that'll enable you to pull more than just one record. I do believe by default it is set to one record. So if you are kind of just like writing a ticket and you're like, oh, like I imported 1927 records into my Investment Dominator, one thing you might want to be aware of is this symbol right here. So that will actually be the one that you are importing into the Investment Dominator. But I wanted to bring that up because when we go like the next section, it's kind of like troubleshooting this by yourself. The next section that you would want to check up on is your activity log. And your activity log will be able to tell you exactly how many records were imported from your Investment Dominator into imported from Datatree into the Investment Dominator. So for instance, when you're in your activity log and you click up here at the top, you'll notice that we have all the actions that are updated within the Investment Dominator. And if you wanted to say, I currently do not have the Datatree subscription on this account, but if you wanted to go ahead and just search for all of your all the times you added records, that's basically how you would go about doing this. So for instance here, instead of saying add by importing list, when you import from Datatree, it will actually say add, and then it'll say like from Datatree Service Center. And I think you saw that here when I just typed in add. Yeah, it'll come up like this, from data service / feed. So that's how you'll be able to see exactly how many records were uploaded into your Investment Dominator when you're using Datatree. But again, please look at some articles to just kind of get a feel and understand for all the information that's on the screen and try to understand everything. And then, like I said, the next option is to, or the next step, I should say, is to go to your activity log and actually see how many were imported from that list so that you can get a clear demonstration, and you can also report an effective ticket if there is a mix-up. But one thing that would also help too when you're working with this is if you notice that there's an action within let's say the Datatree integration, and it's not really working as you intended it to, the best route is to record it and record your you doing this whole process here. Let's see if I can do that again. So doing this whole process and then actually importing the record, and then we'll be able to determine the next course of action more appropriately from that documentation. But yeah, so just keep in mind of that when you're working with it, and always keep in mind of this activity log section. You'll pretty much get everything that happens within your account. But yeah, so all right, so now let's go over our Investment Dominator to Google Sheets. So again, this is going to be a Zapier connection, so we're going to have to go ahead and come back into Zapier. One thing that I also forgot to mention is once you're done testing your final action, you've already tested your connection between Ring Central and you've tested your connection with the Investment Dominator, then the last thing for you to do is actually just turn on your Zap, and that'll basically allow you to have this automation set up whenever, for your account only. So this is especially useful when you have a free account because you basically have 5 free zaps every month where you can kind of like work about doing information like this. So, there's really no course of action where you could go wrong about just even like trying to use this software. So let's go ahead and create a new Zap. And again, the best way for me to create a Zap is to come back to this home section here and just use this. I love this setup and I completely recommend it when you are working through with this. There's another button here for make a Zap, which I'll just jump straight into it. I do find that sometimes this may be a little bit harder. So, for a beginner, I suggest just coming back over here and going to dashboard. And then you'll see your create your own workflow. But yeah, so let's go ahead and dive into this. So let's see. So we want to keep in mind that we're connecting the Investment Dominator to Google Sheets. So we want to have our actions laid out. So let's see if we can go ahead and do this. So we're connecting the Investment Dominator and we are connecting it to Google Sheets, which is right here. So then you'll notice again, like our last Zapier kind of went ahead and worked through some recommended workflows for you. So you'll see here you have save new Gmail emails, matching certain traits to a Google spreadsheet. We have collect new Typeform responses as rows on Google Sheets. Generate rows again, create Trello cards. So there's tons of things that you can do with Zapier. So just keep that in mind. But let's see. So now we want to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of things. So we want to post our trigger, and our trigger is going to be something that happens within the Investment Dominator, since it's our first app and we're going to make an action happen within our Google Sheets. So for instance, we can go ahead and let's say when we update a record within the Investment Dominator, then we want something to happen into Google Sheets. So what do we want to happen? Let's say we don't want to create a spreadsheet column, for instance, because we should have all of our columns kind of written out within the Investment Dominator already. But create a spreadsheet could work depending on what you're trying to do. I don't think copy worksheet would help here, or maybe delete spreadsheet row if, let's say, for instance, the contact was deleted or something of that sort. But that's not really what we want to do. So what we want to do is create a spreadsheet row. We don't want to delete one. So then you'll see here just kind of the action that's listed from what we're trying to do. So it'll basically go along the lines of create a spreadsheet row in Google Sheets and when update record in, sorry, I think I confused myself there. So you're creating a spreadsheet row in Google Sheets when you update a record in the Investment Dominator. So that's what we want to do. So we can go ahead and actually try this. So this will take some time to load, but you'll see here that we have number one, our trigger, and we want to update the record in Investment Dominator. So we'll just go ahead and choose our account. And I already have my account loaded up here, so we'll just hit continue. And then we're going to set up the trigger. So we have record type, land deal, and it's very interesting because there's a lot of options, and some people like options and some people don't like options. They really like it straightforward. But keep in mind, this is kind of like customizing your website, for instance. You're customizing the Zap to be completely specified to what you want to do. So there's really no boundaries or limitations. And the recent update that we have done with our API and Zapier, it now allows for more customization with your fields, for instance. So we updated our custom statuses, and we updated our, information that can be pulled from the Investment Dominator. So we'll see here, let's say that whenever we are putting a record into the pending preliminary research status, we want to go ahead and mark that onto the Google Sheets. And what this will enable you to do is actually, you'll have a concise list of all of your properties which are in the pending preliminary research status, so you can kind of keep track of that, and you're able to search more information depending on the information that we pull from the Investment Dominator. So again, let's hit continue, and let's go down to setup trigger. So it'll just go ahead and set that up. And then you'll notice that we found a record that was in the pending preliminary research status, and all of the information that kind of comes from that as well. So all of the information that comes from that record is being pulled within Zapier. So then what we can go ahead and do is actually just continue. And then now we're going to work on our Google Sheets side to be able to see exactly what is going on. So we have here Google Sheets, and we have the action event to create a spreadsheet row. So that looks about good to me. So the next step is for us to connect our Google Sheets to our Zapier, which again will just take you to a short process. I believe this one is less than the process for adding your Investment Dominator, because you need like API keys and etc. A lot of details regarding your account. With Google Sheets, you actually only just need to just log in and give permission. So that's a really helpful feature. So then now we'll see here, it's going to ask us for more information. So this is more of the specifics involved with the Zap. So you'll see here we have to choose a drive. And then I believe I have everything within my Google Drive. And next we're going to pick out a spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet that we're working on right now is our property research spreadsheet. And this is very helpful because this will actually pull all of the spreadsheets within your Google Sheets. So just kind of keep in mind, if you are not being able to basically click on your worksheet or find your drive, just kind of keep it through so that it's still in your Google Drive, but just make a separate folder so that you're able to do this. So let's see, for worksheet value, we'll just go ahead and click sheet 1. So this is going to involve some work kind of going through with this, but we do have a question from Angela, which I want to get to. So it says, what is API key? It's required to be able to go from Zapier to Investment Dominator, trying to follow your steps and couldn't make this. Thanks, Angela, for sending in that question. Again, the best way to kind of go about that is follow another Zapier article here. So for instance, how to connect Investment Dominator to DocuSign, for instance. So if you scroll down, you'll see a section that is involved with the Investment Dominator. So how you can get your API key and permissions, how do you enable this? So, one thing you want to keep in mind is that the information regarding your APIs is very, 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 very sensitive. So you don't want to share this information with anybody, and you want to basically only have your access to it. So you'll see here, let me see. So I don't want to show the code, for instance. or I could probably just actually reset it afterwards. But if you go into your profile section within the Investment Dominator, Angela, and you go down all the way at the bottom beneath the update button, you'll actually see an API user guide here and API credentials. The API credentials field is actually going to be what you're talking about to connect the Investment Dominator to Zapier. That's going to be everything that you need. And just kind of going over that again, right here where you see my credentials, your API key, and sorry if this is blurry for those of you watching, but you'll see here API credentials, then you'll see API key. You can actually just copy this key, and then your app URL. This is basically what connects your Investment Dominator to your profile. So this app URL, you're just going to copy both of those. And then you'll basically have set up everything that you need to connect the Investment Dominator. So the window that you might be stuck on is this window here, which says allow Zapier to access your Investment Dominator. So again, the API key, just go ahead and go scroll down. So then copy that key. And then you'll see the other field here, app URL. And you'll just go ahead right under the API key is your app URL. You can actually just hit copy, one by one, not at the same time, but hit copy on both and then paste both of those there. And then that'll pretty much be everything that you need to be connected with an Investment Dominator. So hopefully that does help you. But again, just go ahead and type in Zapier into our user guide. And I do believe most articles will go over this step, but this one, for instance, here, connecting to DocuSign, does go over this. Connection. So hopefully that does help you. But let's see here. So back to where we were with the. Where were we? We were creating a spreadsheet row within Google Sheets from our updated record. So let's scroll back down here. So we're connecting it to sheet 1, which should be fine. One thing that you'll notice is that all of our rows within our Google Sheet is actually listed out right here in front of us. So you'll see owner ID, first name, last name, status, APN. If we actually go to our sheet over here, you'll see all of this information. So let's say, for instance, we wanted to add a new field. Let me go ahead and take a look what kind of field we can add. Maybe like city. If there's a field for owner city. That's what. No. Let's do property city. That's what we'll do. Okay, so let's go back here. So let's say, for instance, we're still working on our Google Sheet and we're still trying to add the right rows to what we're doing, and we want to make sure that the information is correct. So let's say we have property, whoopsie, spelled that wrong. Property, what did it say? Property city, I do believe. It was property city, yeah. So we add this new column. Well, you'll notice that when we go back into Zapier, it's not there. And it's very strange, and you might kind of be lost about that. But what you can actually go ahead and do, instead of just refreshing this page, you can actually just refresh fields. And then now, bam, you'll see that property city was added. So do keep in mind how great this app is and really the potential behind it. And I know I say that a lot, but it really is quite amazing that you can automate all of these functions. So for instance, we have all this information here that's added. Let's go ahead and do, so basically you have your columns, your column names, which are printed here, but now you have to tell Zapier exactly what information from the Investment Dominator that you actually want to pull and put into your integration. So you have owner ID here, which is a column up here. So we have owner ID, first name, last name, status, APN, and property city. Again, that's all the columns that you'll see here, but we're adding rows. So let's take the owner ID, for instance. I do believe we can search that owner, the ID. Yep, so owner ID comes up. Once it's selected like that, just make sure you close that, and that'll be done. So one thing that kind of confused me when I was first working with Zapier was like I was adding, like, for instance, I was just adding like that, and nothing was coming up. So you have to actually add like these specific tabs. So you'll notice that you can add like a bunch of them and they'll look like that. You don't want all of those popped up, but just know that they do kind of come up like that. So it kind of looks like tags when you're working with the Investment Dominator. So just kind of keep that in mind. So for, oh wait, we don't want an owner ID for our first name. We actually want the first name. So let's go ahead and search down here. We have first name. And then we have caller first name. We'll go ahead and take that name. Looks like it's John. And then we want the caller's last name, Della Gloria. And then we want the status of the property. So let's see if we can, it should be here. I do believe it's called property status. It might just be status, actually. Yeah, all right. So this one, for instance, you'll see number one, property listing status. This is actually not pulling any values. This is what you want. So again, we pulled the record already. We're just choosing what information we want to take on. So if you see that there's something here that you want to add, there's actually no information for this one, but you'll see that this one says prospect preliminary research. So we'll go ahead and click that. So that's what we're going to pull. We want to pull that preliminary research status off of this number, off of this information. So then next we can go ahead and do APN, tie them to that property APN, which is all like great information. And then the last one that we just added that we wanted to update was property, city, and yep. Oh, so I think the one that I wanted to add, I should say, is property county. So let's actually just add property county, and then I'll go ahead and update the Google Sheets afterwards, just so we can get this correct. So this will be property county. We'll make sure to kind of go about that. So let's hit continue here. And then we'll see that, you know, we have our final test, and then we can review the information. So we're testing it, and a spreadsheet row was sent to Google Sheets just now. So awesome. So you'll see that ID and 3 and then row 3. So right here just populated. And then we'll change that to county. So we have our owner ID, we have our first name, John, we have our last name, Della Gloria, we have the status, which is pending preliminary research, we have the APN number, which we pulled, as well as the property county. So keep in mind, you can actually pull a ton of information, and you kind of saw how many fields were available within the Investment Dominator. This is all new, and this is all really like great. So if you're ever in a bind and you're like, you want to kind of make your task go faster or keep your organization or whatever you may want, just know that there's a lot of possibilities with Zapier, and we are going to have quite a few articles coming out this month regarding that. So keep that in mind. If you got stuck today regarding first starting with the Zapier, don't get discouraged. It did take me quite some time in the beginning just to kind of first understand what was going on and understand what was being asked. The way I see it, you kind of have to like think like a computer and think that you only have the information given and you can only work with the information given, but what can you actually accomplish with that information? So hopefully that opened up some insight for everybody today, just kind of going into detail more about Zapier, as well as going over some of the questions that came up as well. But it's 12:55. Let's go ahead and see if you guys have any last minute questions that you want to ask, just go ahead and ask that now. And if there's no further questions, just keep in mind that Monday is going to be our live Q&A call, which will go over our beginner session. And again, Thursday will be our more advanced sections. And if you have any questions related to kind of Zapier, or if you do find yourself struggling, with kind of understanding the material, you can always just submit a ticket and we will kind of go heavier into the detail to be able to kind of walk you through this step by step. Remember, we are a community and we are together. So as we are reaching the end of this call, it does not look like we're getting any more questions coming in, but I would like to go over a quote that I have for you guys today. So the quote is from Roy T. Bennett, and it's a great quote. I'm not sure where The Light in the Heart is from. That may be a book and maybe a movie, but it's a pretty good quote, and I wanted to bring it up to you guys today. So the quote goes, "Be brave and take risks. You need to have faith in yourself. Be brave and take risks. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward." So, the choice of that quote today was just because of the Zapier section that I did want to highlight. And, you have to really have a mindset where there's not a lot really wrong that can happen when working with the Investment Dominator. You can always undo actions. You could always message ticket support for customer help with regards to getting your solution solved. And you don't have to be afraid in the unknown. So when you're working with Zapier, just go ahead and test it. Go ahead and try to not break it, but just try to work your zaps out, test your zaps out, see if things are going to according to plan, see if things are adding up, and making sure that everything, makes sense, and making sure that your keys are in the right order, making sure that you're logged in. But once you get all that setup process done, take those risks. Do the automations for you that'll be helpful for your business. You want to keep in mind that all of the actions that can be performed with this separate application is something that could definitely lift your potential business and could bring in more business for you. So you always want to keep that in mind, and you want to try to kind of just really understand the things that are involved with this. For instance, if you did have no idea what Zapier was before this call, there is kind of a quick start guide to Zapier located on their website. And this is going to give you all the information that you need in regards to kind of understanding what is automation and what is a Zap. So for those of you that aren't technically challenged, just kind of keep that in mind. You aren't being pushed away. This isn't just for all the people that are super techies and just for IT support. This is for anyone at all. And YouTube is your best friend too. So in case if you do find yourself struggling, you can find YouTube videos. But we are really going to try to pump out these user article guides to help you guys with Zapier, because we do see a lot of popularity just around the subject in general. So again, just kind of going about everything that you need to do. But just keep in mind that you guys are never alone, and we are a community together, and together we will move forward. So again, thank you all for joining today's call. I hope you enjoyed the session. Again, next week on Monday is our beginner call for the Investment Dominator, and then for the following week, we do have our advanced session again. So look forward to seeing everybody there, and thank you all for joining today, and thank you for asking questions. And everybody have a great rest of your day. All right.